Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had yourself a great weekend. I know there's places like Nashville that are having some flooding issues and things like that, but I can tell you, I'd speak for myself. I had a terrific weekend. I finally got to go back fishing. Been over a month really since I had gone. Two great things, or at least maybe two or three. One, the weather was absolutely spectacular, maybe even too good, because sometimes when the weather is really good, the fishing was slow, and it was a little bit this time. But I did get back in the winner's circle. I might be able to put up a picture tomorrow. I don't have any yet today. But I caught a grouper that won the jackpot and basically paid for my trip. So I'm back in that. But the biggest thing for me personally, and if you've been following the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. For the last month, I've been kind of struggling. I went through a period of time where I was COVID positive and was pretty sick for about 2 weeks, but especially 3 or 4 days. I actually did a show about it a week or so ago when I came back. You can check out. But I was worried that I might not have the old energy I usually have, because it takes a lot of energy to do the type of fishing that I do. And I'm happy to report that I felt good. I feel even better now that I've gotten all that salt air in my lungs and everything. It kind of clears you out. So if you're ready to experience the outdoors, you're tired of being shut in totally, come on down to the free state of Florida, as I like to say it, because, man, we're living the good life down here. Come down, spend some money. Now, if you come down and want to buy a house, the only thing I say to that, and there were a few people on the boat talking about that, I just say whatever you're running from New York or somewhere like that, Michigan, just don't bring that problem with you, your high taxes and everything else. But come on down to the free state of Florida. We are doing pretty well here thanks to our politics and our great governor, Ron DeSantis. That's another thing I'll say real quickly. I was talking to people on the boat. There were about 35 people on there, and there were a good mixture of people from other states, and pretty much all of them agreed with what I've been saying. We in Florida have the best governor in the United States of America. There are a lot of people, I can tell you, that if Ron DeSantis' name ends up at the top of the ticket in 2024 for the Republicans, I think he has a pretty good chance of winning. A lot can happen between now and then, and he needs to get reelected in 2022 to governor, but we're pretty fortunate down here. All right, let's get into the show. Got a couple of good stories for you. I hope we get into the second one because the first one's going to take a little time. But Biden, it's now appearing that Biden is the best chance, the Biden administration, I guess we're supposed to call it the Biden-Harris administration now, but the best chance for Barack Obama to actually get his agenda through. You know, they felt like they needed a third term in the Obama administration, and that Biden is now that answer to that third term, and we'll expand on that. And then hopefully we'll have time. You know, there's a story that came out last week that Kamala Harris, president, well, I don't know what, there's like president-elect office. What is the office for, like, vice president who might actually be the president? I don't know if there's an official title. We'll have to think about that. We'll have to figure that out. Billy Bob Bassel, I'll put him on. If you hadn't met my psychic sidekick, he's got a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. We're determined to stay on all the social media platforms, but I'll give him that undercover assignment there to figure out what is the title for a vice president that might actually be president. But apparently she doesn't really want the job that Biden's assigned her down to be basically the border czar. So we'll talk about that. But before we go any further, I always have to mention at the top of the show here our sponsors, because without our sponsors, we don't have a show. And so I hope you appreciate that and look at our sponsors. Our number one sponsor is BDU, Big Daddy Unlimited. They are your Second Amendment headquarters. You can check out above the show, no matter when or where you're watching it, and you will see links to our various sponsors and other things. Sometimes we do giveaways, all kind of stuff. Check out above the show. But BDU is your Second Amendment headquarters because you can get factory direct pricing on guns and ammunition. And I know for a fact they got some ammunition in stock right now. Now, what types and all, I can't tell you that on a daily basis, but check it out. But you'll get factory direct prices delivered directly to your door, as well as access to hundreds of thousands, over 100,000 items that are directly related to the Second Amendment, from obviously protective gear to survival stuff. You name it, you can get it at Big Daddy Unlimited. Check them out. We also have patriotthreads.org, and they are apparel with a purpose. Patriotthreads.org. Remember the promo code JMT, which is the initials to our show, JMT, John Martin Talks. You'll get 20% off. Now, what patriotthreads.org is they are a total fulfillment center. They produce patriotic themed apparel that for charity events and stuff, and you can even buy individual stuff. But basically, if you have, say, you want to do a fishing tournament and you want the proceeds to go to something like Wounded Warriors, contact patriotthreads.org. They'll design a shirt for you. They'll ship it out wherever you want it, and they'll even help you with distributing the proceeds to the charity of your choice. So check them out. Recoil TV. Can't say enough about our partnership with Recoil TV. They have their own YouTube channel, Recoil TV. Of course, we have ours as well, John Martin Talks. Check it out. Just spell it all the way out. But Recoil TV is also all about the Second Amendment. On there, you will find videos on the latest guns, ammunition, tactical gear, anything Second Amendment related. They're full of videos on how to use it, recommendations, those kind of things. Well, we have a channel within their YouTube channel where our show is archived on a daily basis. So check out Recoil TV. All right, let's get into the stories. The Biden do-over. This is a Washington Post story. The Biden do-over. Democrats get a chance to try again on Obama defeat. So the crux of this is that the Obama administration didn't really get to do everything they wanted to do. And now they see, of course, they were shattered when Trump came in there and just overturned everything, exposed the deepness of the swamp and everything else. And they were pretty disheartened, they being the Obama administration. But they see old Joe Biden as the guy that can lead them through a second term. Now, I say that coming off of this press conference that was on Thursday. I understand that we had some issues with the Friday video, so I just want to get into that very quickly. We did a show for Friday about what happened in the press conference of Joe Biden. Now, we may have had some, some issues at the very beginning, but I can tell you now that if you want to see my thoughts on the news conference, it is currently, the current show is up there now on our YouTube channel and everything else. So check it out. But my basic conclusion I will share with you of the Biden press conference after watching that mess that was a press conference is that Joe Biden is not the president of the United States. Now understand, I'm not talking about the election or voter mod, because we don't say the F word here. I'm not getting into that right now. I'm simply saying that, I'm not saying that Joe Biden isn't the actual elected president, just so you understand. What I'm saying is the dude that is currently Joe Biden in his current mental state cannot possibly function as president of the United States. It is not possible. And I would encourage you to go back and watch that hour-long, maybe hour and 20-minute long press conference. And you tell me, even if you could be anti-Trump all you want, but I don't see how you can watch that with any honesty whatsoever and say that that guy, Joe Biden, is actually running the show. I'm not saying who is. I mean, it's Obama and his bunch from what I hear, and I'll make the case for that in a minute. I'm going to play you, and I don't know if we'll play the whole 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but I'm going to play you a clip right now. And in fairness, it's an edited clip of Joe Biden, but it kind of highlights just how bizarre that press conference was and how out of touch he was and literally deer in the headlights. Now, keep in mind, as you're watching this, like I say, it's edited to show those blunders, but this is Joe Biden, as I made the point on Friday, at his very best. It doesn't get any better than this because he had about 10 days of preparation by their own admission for this. He had notes and everything, and he had what I wouldn't even call softball questions by the press. He had what I would call stuffed teddy bear questions, because a softball might actually hurt you if it hit you in the head. But they were throwing stuffed teddy bear questions at this dude, and they were propping him up. And let's just watch it. And then, like I said, I don't know if we'll play the full 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll stomach it as long as I can, but let's watch it. And you tell me that this guy is capable of actually doing the duties of President of the United States. Check it out.
To take your questions. Well, I'm good. Look, when decide to divide the country. I think, I doubt whether, maybe you did, maybe others did. I thought, many of you thought, okay, how about back when I was United States Senator, Vice President, be immediately available. If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done. Hang on. Sorry. Oh, Miss Kim. Let me get here. Okay. Well, look. And so the question here is how we go ahead and do this. To roll back what? I'm sorry? Okay. Where am I here? Let me see.
Why not abolish it if it's a relic of the Jim Crow era?
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle, as you've all observed. Frustrating. You talk about. Last point I'll make is over 100,000. A thousand people.
I think we probably got enough. Yeah, I think you get the picture. I would encourage you, and I admit that is an edited version. Go back if you have the courage. I think every American really ought to watch the full hour and 20 minutes of Joe Biden and tell me that dude could even run the groundskeeping crew there at the White House. I'm going to ask you this. Would you let Joe Biden, if you think I'm being unfair, then answer this question honestly. Would you let Joe Biden drive you or your kids anywhere? Would you let your kids get in the car with Joe Biden and even go around the block? Really? I don't see how you could possibly say that you would put your family in the car and let Joe Biden drive. So if he can't drive a car, then I don't know how he's driving the deal at the White House. He's not. Let me just tell you flat out, Joe Biden, that guy you just saw, is not day-to-day running the affairs of the White House. It's just not possible. Barack Obama, facing pressure from both parties, worked to keep his stimulus package under $1 trillion. So we're talking about Obama hoping to get his third term to Joe Biden. Joe Biden launched, now this is a Washington Post article. Keep that in mind. Joe Biden launched his presidency by spending about $2 trillion and hopes to bump it up to $5 trillion. Supposedly later today, he's going to announce some kind of $3 trillion infrastructure package. Now, $3 trillion. I'm not saying we don't need some help with infrastructure, but basically it's not like they're going to repair a bunch of bridges. They're not going to undo the 47 years that Biden's been up there doing nothing. It's all about the Green New Deal. But it says hopes to bump up to $5 trillion. Now let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, maybe maybe the fact that Obama could only get like $1 trillion package passed, and Joe Biden is on the verge of getting a total of $5 trillion passed. Maybe it's true that Joe Biden is the greatest candidate in the history of the presidency. Because keep in mind, and I'm not saying voter mod, I say we don't say the F word here, and we say stuff that rhymes with squeal. So I'm not even talking about that. But in order to buy it, there was no mod and no squealing going on during the election. You have to buy a few things. One is you'd have to buy this, that if I talked to you on November 2nd and told you tomorrow, election day, November 3rd, that President Trump was going to get the most votes of any incumbent president in the history of the United States, like 12 million, I think, or 10 million, something like that, more votes than he got in 2016, you would tell me, if you're honest with yourself, there's no way that Donald Trump loses if that happened. But that happened. And then you would have to tell me, you'd have to buy that Joe Biden, the cellar dweller, got the most votes in the history of anyone running for president ever. And if you want to bring Obama in, you'd have to believe, and I'm willing to interview this person and see if they're out there, but you'd have to believe that there is a black person in America, African American, living in some place like Detroit or Milwaukee, that twice had the opportunity to vote for Barack Obama, 2 different times, was registered to vote, but decided, Obama, that first black president, ain't that big a deal. But Joe Biden got those people, apparently, those black people, to come out and vote for him. So I would love, if you're someone that fits this bill, please chime in on Facebook, because I would love to interview and talk to you. That you found that you didn't vote, you were a black American, and you had the chance to vote for Obama twice, and you just didn't vote at all. But something Joe Biden said or did inspired you to come out and push the button, the Chad, the lever for him. Apparently, there were millions of people like that. You have to buy a lot. I'm not buying it, but you'd have to buy a lot. Obama spent months negotiating with the Republicans back to his presidency, thirsty for a bipartisan credential, which bipartisan, by the way, means that Republicans cave. That's what it means, pure and simple. Said, but it never came, while Biden nodded to the opposition party and then pushed his agenda without them. So Biden got everything he wanted passed in this stimulus package without a single Republican vote in the Senate anyway. Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen, is, as Mike Pence accurately said back during the campaign, that if Joe Biden gets elected, that he is going to be a Trojan horse candidate. I mean, I thought it was an excellent analogy at the time. It is proven absolutely true. Now, exactly who's inside that Trojan horse, we don't know. But apparently, a lot of them are Obama and his administration, man. Tucker Carlson, I got to give him a little credit. He said something on his show last week after the presser that we were talking about a few minutes ago that night. He said that, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, I tried to find some video of it, but it's sometimes hard to find conservative video. But he said that, 2 years ago, then people started talking about the deep state. He didn't believe that the deep state existed. He thought that it was basically just politics. But he said now, after, I guess, a couple of years through the Trump administration and what's happening now, that he thoroughly believes that there is a deep state. And he believes, as proof of that, Joe Biden. Because here's a guy that, you have to buy all those things, got elected, whatever. He's in the White House. Let's just put it that way. And this dude is running the show? No, he's the perfect candidate for the deep state swamp, because they can put him out there and people can buy him, and the media's been nice to him and everything. Think about this. And that's why I tell you to go back and look at the actual press conference. One of the questions, it was several like this, one of the people, I think it was a PBS reporter, literally started her question of, you were elected because you're a good and decent man. And then ask a question. You talk about, no softball, teddy bear questions. But I agree with Tucker that Biden presidency proves that there is a deep state. And I'll expand on that more in a moment. Obama thought Get back to this article, Washington Post story. Obama thought good policy would sell itself. Biden's aides say he, talking about Biden himself, designed his package, the reason why he got a bigger package passed, key pieces that sell well, including easy to understand ideas such as the $1,400 stimulus. Now, keep in mind, leading up to the Georgia runoff election, we were told that check was going to be $2,000. Payments and vaccine. It says here, Biden's aides say he designed the package. I don't believe that's true for a minute. Now, I believe it came out of the Biden administration. But ladies and gentlemen, and please chime in on Facebook, on YouTube. I'll try to respond to you as quickly as I can. I'd like you to tell me where I'm wrong. Do you honestly believe that Joe Biden, the guy you saw in that presser, the guy that we saw fall down the steps 3 times last week on Air Force One, the guy that literally on a daily basis says, why am I here? I could play you 6 videos of Biden going, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Yeah, that guy designed a $2 trillion stimulus package? No way. He didn't have nothing to do with it. He might have made a phone call to Joe Manchin to vote for it or something. Other than that, he didn't design it, man. It was designed probably by the Obama administration people. Because basically, if you look at, and we're going to give you some statistics here in just a minute, if you look at Biden's appointees from cabinet level all the way down, because a lot of people don't realize this, there's like 5,000 presidential appointees, roughly speaking. They're all Obama people. I mean, it's like 80% of them, and I'll get the exact statistic here in just a moment. The opening months of the Biden administration have provided the Democratic Party with a rare do-over. Yeah, a chance to do something anyway. A chance to enact wide-ranging agenda items far more quickly and on a larger scale than in 2009. Even Biden's slogan, according to the Washington Post, Build Back Better, aspires to improve what came before. Exactly. Everything about Joe Biden goes back to the Obama administration. And of course, Biden said, take his word for it, that if he was elected, he'd be the most progressive president in history. And let me just say this, in case you're new to the show, you might not have heard me say this, but if I say it, of course, it bears repeating. I don't think Biden even has an agenda. His agenda has already happened. He has accomplished everything on his agenda. Because Joe Biden's only agenda for the last basically 50 years was to be president of the United States. Now, he was more in touch with reality a few years ago, and we're going to play a video showing that, than he is now. But he's sitting on it, man. He's in the catbird seat. He got his goal to be president. The rest, I don't think matters to him. As a matter of fact, I don't think he really wants to be bothered with. So Joe Biden, is he the duly elected president of the United States? It doesn't even matter right now, to be honest with you. He is the president, but he's not. He's not the functioning president. I don't see how it's possible. Surrounded by many of the same aides who worked with the Obama White House, the Biden team is behaving almost as if it was back to work after a lengthy sabbatical. I think that's a very accurate analogy. Picking up where Obama left off without having to ascend a learning curve, which is probably good for him. I don't think he could do any learning curve. Think about this. Susan Rice. There she is in all her glory. Susan Rice is director of the Domestic Policy Council. We know that Obama loved Susan Rice, that she is one of his closest confidants. This is, if you don't know who she was, she's the Benghazi gal, as we call her, where she went around on all the Sunday shows and basically said that all of Benghazi was inspired by some video guy that did it in his basement out of California, which we now know was a complete lie. You know, they lied and people died. But think of this. Here's what people don't really know, and I kind of said it a minute ago, but let me expand on it. When you have a turnover in the president, whether it's incumbent, reelected, or certainly when a new administration comes in, everybody thinks about like the cabinet level and a few other picks maybe just below them. And those, yes, are appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate. But there are literally 5,000 or more actual appointees that a president makes. Now, some of them the president, in all fairness, doesn't even touch on. He's got committees. There's no way an individual president. So I'm not knocking Biden for that. Some of them have to have Senate confirmation at a much lower level than you might think, but they're just basically rubber stamp. They don't make the news. But I say that to say this. President Trump, now I think part of it, he was a bit overwhelmed about how Washington really worked. But I think part of it is he didn't want to just fill all these positions, but they stay there until they're cast out. See, one of the big mistakes that President Trump made, that he should have followed something Obama did. Obama, when he first became president, he basically wrote a letter to all of these appointees, all like 5,000, maybe more, basically saying, when I walk in the door, you're out. He fired them all just blanketly. Donald Trump did not do that. So there were people in that deep state from the Obama administration that hampered Trump at every level. And there's plenty of proof of that. But Joe Biden got rid of all of Trump's people for the most part and hired mostly Obama people. This is from the Washington Post. Not me saying it. Listen to this. Of the first 50 top staff posts, Biden announced nearly 80% had worked on the Obama White House or in his campaign. So of the top people that a president might actually filter down and see what's happening, 80% of these are former Obama staffers. So, and you can only imagine that even below them is probably people just like that, because these people, once they get appointed, they're the ones that hire underneath. So you tell me what's happening. The Donald Trump era offered Democrats a view of their worst nightmare, a president that most of them saw as authoritarian and dangerous. I have trouble with that word for some reason, and dangerous to the country's future. Bound by that fear, Democrats say they are attempting to undo what many, both inside and outside the administration, view as the mistakes and disappointment for the Obama years. So they're trying to make corrections. And I think it's Obama himself that is trying to make corrections. We're going to play this video. It's a oldie but a goldie. This is Barack Obama when Trump was running for election the first time, talking about how what basically Trump was saying couldn't be done. Let's play it and we'll check it out for some perspective.
But for those folks who've lost their job right now because a plant went down to Mexico, that isn't going to make you feel better. And so what we have to do is to make sure that folks are trained for the jobs that are coming in now, because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
Well, President Trump found his magic wand, and I think we have a picture of that very magic wand that President Trump had. Do we have that meme up there? There you go. Donald Trump actually had a backbone. He actually said what he was going to do, identified the problem, identified the solution, and implemented the solution. That's why the border was largely sealed under President Trump. Biden in that press conference said that, like I say, you need to go back and watch it if you didn't. Biden literally, and the media did not challenge him. Biden said that the surge at the border, which is at record numbers, by the way, he said, this happens every year. It's a seasonal thing, like people just coming to pick fruit. I mean, it's just crazy. And the media didn't challenge him one bit. He literally called Donald Trump. Yeah, I miss you, sir. That's the answer to that. Do you miss him? I miss him. But he literally, Biden from the White House, called Donald Trump a murderer, in a sense. He said that Donald Trump allowed children and families, immigrant children and families, to go back, sent them back to Mexico to starve to death without any evidence whatsoever. Nobody followed up with a question on that. Can you imagine if Donald Trump had said anything remotely like that about Obama? That he said, if he said that Obama let children starve to death from the White House, that would have ended the press conference right there, because every question after that would, well, how do you mean? What do you mean? But they just, they glossed over it like it would. They just threw another teddy bear at him. But here's Dan Pfeiffer, who is a senior advisor to Obama, said this: for them to go back 4 years later with the benefit of 8 years of White House-based political experience, talking about all these appointees, it is an advantage I don't think any administration has ever had. So basically what he's saying is that for Biden to be able to pick all these backbenchers now and make them frontbenchers again from the Obama administration puts him at an advantage. Well, who do you think is behind the scenes on all of this? Because the White House admitted just this past week that Joe Biden and Obama talk almost on a daily basis. Almost on a daily basis. And this Pfeiffer went on to say, during much of the second term, talking about the Obama administration in particular, he said, I would think, man, if only I knew then what I know now. You know, and he says, he went on to say, they actually get to do that and go back in a time machine. So what he's saying is all these appointees, 80% of the top appointees are former Obama people. That they're able to go back and basically now take the good and the bad of they think their experience from Obama and make it a third term. So no, I don't think Kamala Harris is running the show either. I don't think they want that to happen. And I don't think, for instance, people talking about the 25th Amendment. Now, Joe Biden in his presser was asked, which is a crazy question, really, are you planning on running? He's only been there a couple months. Are you planning on running again? He was quick to answer, probably his quickest thing. Oh, sure, yeah. Would you have Kamala Harris on your ticket? He said, yeah, I would assume so. Now, there was reports that there was some mumbling in the background when he said that, because from Harris's team. But there's not going to be, I could be wrong, but let me make a prediction right now. I don't think there's going to be any 25th Amendment deal against Biden. I think that Tucker Carlson is absolutely right. That the deep state, which Obama is like the head of the deep state now. That, remember, they said Obama could become like UN Secretary General. That's one of the things they talked. You don't hear much of that about. They don't pay enough. They're making millions. But I don't think they're going to remove Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden would have to die in office for Kamala Harris to come up there. And I'm not wishing that on him, by the way. I'm not wishing that at all. I don't think they want Kamala Harris to be president, they being the Obama people. I'm not saying they don't like her. I'm not saying they weren't the ones that put her in there, but they're really pleased. The deep state, and this is the point I think Tucker Carlson was making, the deep state is very happy with Joe Biden because there's not much expectation there. They can run things behind the scenes. They can put him out there to say a few words, and then they can do what they want to do. And Biden is happy. He has no ego in this anymore because he's accomplished his agenda. In my opinion, Mr. Algorithm, he's accomplished his entire agenda because he's president. Biden and his aides have said they are trying to avoid becoming mired in issues, wow, that have long bedeviled Washington, including gun control and immigration. Well, let me tell you, I made this point on Friday, so check out the coverage of the presser. But in Joe Biden's press conference, they harped on the filibuster quite a bit. And Joe gave a sloppy answer to that. But he did get kind of passionate, and he said the word, Jim Crow, Jim Crow. You know, they keep throwing, if you notice, they throw that up a lot lately. Even Schumer was saying it from the Senate floor. Jim Crow are basically the whites only rules and stuff like that. They're trying to make this a racial issue. Here's what I believe you're going to see happen. I don't think they're worried about gun control. They're talking about it, but they don't have a problem with gun control coming up and being defeated for lack of a 60 vote for the break of filibuster in the Senate. I think you're going to see various bills come forward that are the filibuster is going to stop. And they're going to make a big stink and cry about it. But they're not going to try to undo the filibuster on gun control. What they're trying to do is highlight how filibuster is hampering things. Because the one bill they want is this election, this federalizing the For the People bill or something like that. It's SB 1 and House Bill 1. That's what they want to break the filibuster on. So they're trying to show that the filibuster is hampering things that American people want. They're going to play the race card on this election bill and try to get the filibuster squashed on a racial basis. Because they're going to say, basically, if you're against this, then you're racist. That is what I believe is going to happen. And let me just tell you, in no uncertain terms, that if that federalizing of the elections bill actually gets passed, signed into the law, and God help us, the Supreme Court doesn't do their job and lets it stand, then we're done. Then we're done, because Hillary Clinton herself said that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because they realize if they can federalize the election, which basically shreds the Constitution, then they can control the election like they did in 2020. And whether there was maud or squealing or whatever won't really matter. And you can also see it right now. Georgia just passed a bill that basically reasserted their original election laws before the consent decree. But there are a couple of things that Georgia put in there that are garnering national attention, but they're fraudulent in the sense that they're totally out of context. And one of the things you're going to hear over and over is this idea that you can't give a person in a voting line a bottle of water. It's BS. If you go and actually read the bill that was passed, what they're talking about is not some church group or not some individual or some, civic-minded group handing out bottles of water, or even the state doing it for that matter. What they're talking about is the sham of approaching people in line with, say, a bottle of water when you're really a political activist pushing a candidate or agenda. They don't want people that are standing in a voting line being accosted, if you will, or trying to be persuaded by people from these activist organizations. Because it happens all the time. Basically, what they'll do is, and it happens right here in Florida, they'll walk up to someone standing in a voting line, offer them something like water, and then hand them a list of the approved candidates of the Democratic Party and the topics or whatever. That's what the Georgia law is trying to prevent from happening, from voters being unduly accosted or influenced while they're casting their vote. Not to keep them from drinking water, but that's what you're hearing. So you're going to hear this Jim Crow over and over and over because they want to federalize the elections. And they know that if they can accomplish that, it don't even matter who the president is then, because it won't be a conservative. It sure won't be Donald Trump. Biden, back to the article, in some ways is an unlikely leader to usher in, this is a Washington Post opinion, in sweeping changes quickly. Despite his long career in Washington, he is not associated with many transformational policy wins. Yet he's the greatest candidate that ever got the most votes ever. And the past victories, such as the 1994 crime bill, later became political liabilities. So Donald Trump said, and I got a meme showing this, in the debate that he'd done more in 47 months than Biden had done in 47 years. And he's absolutely right. Even the Washington Post is basically admitting that. So yes, sir, we missed you. When they talk about political liabilities, they talk about this crime bill. I want to play this video. It's a couple minutes long, because they're making the case that the crime bill actually hurt him. I don't see any evidence. It should have, if in a just society with real media coverage that wanted the truth, it should have been a disqualifier for Joe Biden. But I want you to watch this video of Joe Biden. This is in 1994 when he was a senator, and he's talking about African American teens and children and calling them basically everything but a child of God. And he tells you he don't even care what causes it, just need to get them off the street. Now keep in mind, this is Joe Biden when he was at his cognitive best, whatever that is. Now, while you're watching this video, I want you to compare then Joe Biden. I want you to listen to what he's saying But I also want you to compare that guy to the dude that we saw in the pressers, and you tell me if it's even a shadow of the same man. Check it out.
It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now.
All right,
and Madam President, we have...
Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand what Joe Biden in 1994, cognitive Joe Biden, is saying? He's telling black America that it doesn't matter why your kids are doing what they're doing. Doesn't matter if they're poor, out of wedlock, doesn't matter. All that matters is getting those thugs, basically, those predators. He's talking about black children. Yeah, this is the same guy that called black children roaches in that corn pop video. He's talking about getting roaches, your children, off the street, and that's all that matters. That's it. Now, that was Joe Biden. That Joe Biden, I wouldn't vote for president, but that Joe Biden could actually run the White House and put policies out. The dude we saw on Thursday, I don't even think it's fair to say he's a shadow of that guy. But you got to ask yourself, how many of you out there, black Americans, have actually watched that video I just played? That's about the only place you'll see it played. That is the guy that you voted for that is going to solve America's problems. But where's the real? Oh, let me bring up something very quickly, because there's a story coming out of D.C. that just shows you how messed up everything is. Did you hear about this Uber Eats driver, 64 years old, I want to say, something like that, was shot and killed by 2 black teenage girls, a 15 and a 13-year-old. Murdered this dude, this Uber Eats guy, whose name is Muhammad something or other. He's from, I think, Indonesia. Murdered this guy in cold blood, shot him to death in D.C. over the weekend. And I didn't even see a story about it when I was scrolling through, because it doesn't match the narrative. Could you imagine if it were 2 white kids that killed this guy for that? It would be the top story everywhere. They'd be talking about gun control, everything else. But 2 black children, and I feel terrible about that, because think about it, their families are ruined. This Mohammed fella, I mean, he's killed. He was trying to feed his family. He's got a family and everything. It's crickets, man. If you don't think that shows you how biased the media is and how all these other stories, I'm not taken away from what happened in Boulder or what happened in Atlanta. But you can't tell me that those stories are like, the end of the world. But to me, 2 teenage girls, not even boys, teenage girls shoot in cold blood a 64, 66-year-old man. And it's crickets. And there's a video out there that shows that the one girl, the only thing she's worried about, because apparently she lost her cell phone in the melee, she's worried about her cell phone. Just killed a dude. And all she's worried about is, did you find my cell phone? It's just crazy, man. But the real Joe Biden, the one we just talked about, as I said, would you let him drive your car? Who's running the show? I guess that's the real question in the White House, because it hidden Joe Biden, man. He's like a puppet on strings. And I showed his picture here. I don't know which of them is running it. Maybe they're all, because they're all swamp rats running it. But Joe Biden ain't running the show. Let me see what time. We got a couple minutes left. I want to get into this story really quickly. This is a Breitbart story. Kamala Harris dodges anti-migration task force set by Joe Biden. I love that when I first saw it. I still believe it. Vice President Kamala Harris is dodging a Wednesday request by President Joe Biden to bolster the enforcement of migration laws in Mexico and Latin America. Did you see this? Now, talk about who's running the show. We're going to play one quick snippet. This was just last week, and this is Joe Biden talking about, well, you play it. We'll play it, and you tell me what it means.
A virtual tour of a vaccination center in Arizona not long ago. One of the nurses on that tour.
Well, I guess you didn't catch it. It's my fault. I guess that's good. At the beginning of that, he said President Harris and I toured a vaccination center. From the White House, Joe Biden said President Harris and I toured a vaccination center. So, I guess that tells you who's actually in control. Let me check my time. I only got about a minute left. But I'd encourage you to read this story from Breitbart. On March 24th, in a televised statement, Biden directed Harris to get the Mexico and Central American government. Basically, he's put her up as the border czar. We're going to end the show right there. I was going to play you a comic video, but don't really have time to do it. But Harris has come out basically through her press secretary and says she's going to work on the diplomatic thing, not actually closing the border. So it kind of begs the question, as we said at the top of the show, who is running the show? It's probably being done by a committee. It isn't Joe Biden. Please make the case that it is, because I just don't see how it could be. It's probably Obama and his people kind of running the show. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it, share it, YouTube channel, check it out. Please support our sponsors like Big Daddy Unlimited. We certainly need your help, and you'll be well pleased with the service you get there. But above all else, let's pray for this country, because she needs it and deserves it more than ever. Of course, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. And like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.